So continuing on some of the things that I've been learning along the way, I'd like to sort of continue to the next thing where we're sort of tasked with asking the user for a particular car, or rather the make of their favorite car, saving it into a string, and then we ask for the model and then save that into a string, and then we ask for the year and then we save that into an integer, and then we create an object called my favorite car, and essentially we change the instance variables for my favorite car, which would actually be sort of identical to the instance variables which we specified up here. And essentially what that would do is what we would do is we would change the instance variable and make the make that they entered to the make of the car, or rather the make that the user entered to the make of the car. And we do that for model and year respectively, and then we just print out sort of that object's make, model, and year, and that should essentially be identical to what the user entered. And so just trying this out here, let me just go ahead and switch over to Eclipse. So let's see. So we have a car class here, and then of course we have our car program, which is essentially where we are going to be running our code. So we have a car class, and recall that we had a string, which was of course the make, and then we had a string which was the model, and then we had an integer which would be the year. And let's just put in a constructor here. And again, the constructor sort of has to be sort of matching the constructor sort of has to be matching the name of the class. And so we can essentially just make, just have these variables here as well. Now, at this point, what we really want to do is we want to be able to access these variables, but I'll get to that in a second. So as of now, what we do now is, so we want to ask the user for their make, right? And so we obviously have to have a scanner to read in the data that the user enters. And so after doing that, we can sort of ask them for enter your favorite model. I think that was the question, to ask them what their favorite model is. And then we can have a string variable called favorite model, or let's just call it new model, right? Equals data.next, which is essentially going to read in the next word that they type. And essentially we do the same thing again and again until we sort of satisfy our requirement. But in this case, we're going to ask for the make, and this one is going to be called new make. Okay, that's going to be a string, and then we're actually asking for an integer later on, and we're asking for the year. Okay, and we're going to call this new year. It says enter your favorite year, or let's just say enter your year. Enter a year, right? And then instead of saying next, which is actually reserved for reading in the next line or the next word, we're actually going to read in the next integer. Now, essentially what we want to do is we want to be able to say that the instance variable in the car class, we want to first create an object called my favorite car. So we have car, my favorite car equals new car, right? And so essentially what we've done is we've created a reference to the collection of instance variables in the class or on the class level. And so essentially now what we can do is we can just say, okay, so I want this car, essentially this make variable to equal the make that they enter. So actually let's have make first, right? I want it to equal the make that they enter here. And so essentially what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, look, the reference my favorite car, which is referencing the make variable, is essentially going to equate to the make that is being sort of being entered, right? And the same thing essentially would apply to the other variables here. So the model that I'm referring to on the class level is going to essentially equate to the model that the user is entering. And the same logic sort of follows for the same logic follows for the year, right? And so now if we sort of print these out, shouldn't be too hard. So here we're asking for the make, and we're just going to print out what the make is. And here we're asking for the model. We're going to print out what the model is. Okay. And here we're going to essentially print out the year. Okay. And if we're asking for the make, let's go ahead and just print out the new make. And let's go ahead and print out the new model, because we want to make sure that the new make or the new model or the new year, which they're entering, is actually equated to what is inside the object. Or actually what we should be doing is we should be printing out my favorite car dot make. Okay, and we should do this for, and we should get what the user entered, right? Awesome, cool. So just doing this here, it should ask us for our make, right? So I guess I'll just say Honda, and then let's see, enter your favorite model. I'm not too sure about cars, but I think I've heard of Honda Accord. So I'm going to enter Honda, then I'm going to enter Accord, and then I'm going to enter a year, which could, let's say, 2010. And then it should just print out that description, right? And so that works, and that's sort of how to transfer what the user enters into an object here. But it is a sort of an early stage, and there are many more things to learn, but this is sort of a demonstration of how we can equate one thing to the other when we have a class or an object in question, sort of. So there's that, and I guess that concludes it.